Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to cover some introductory ideas about sport and exercise in ancient Athens. Key questions for you to make notes on in your workbook. Number 1, why was sport and exercise important to the Athenians? Number 2, what was the gymnasium like and what activities would take place there? And number 3, what was the palaestra and what activities took place there? So firstly, a general overview of sport and exercise in ancient Athens. As we learned when we looked at education, physical activity was a really important part of life in Athens, and just like it was for boys and children, it was also really important for men. It's seen as a way of developing one's body physically in order to both, compete physically in things like the Olympic Games as well as in warfare. It's also seen as a way of instilling some key ideas and values in the people of Athens. So there is this idea of arete, or excellence, bravery, courage, strength, which can be in a martial context, in a military context on the battlefield, but also in a more general sense. It also instills this character trait called sophrosine, this sort of balance, this control, because of the discipline required to practice athletic pursuits and the skills required to perform different sporting activities. But as well as with all the different polis in ancient Greece, it's sport and exercise is a means of competing with your fellow Greeks and trying to be the best, which is a value which is really important across all different polis in ancient Greece, but also within Athens itself. And there's a really nice quote from Xenophon, which I have put in your workbook, which sums up this nicely, the importance of sport and exercise. So if you train, if you work your body, people with good bodies in good condition are healthy and strong. And he explains why that's important. They're able to save their lives honorably from the dangers of war and escape all disasters. Many of them help their friends and serve their country, thereby winning thanks, glory, and the highest honors. So he's talking about the benefits of exercise both to the individual as well as to the collective, and the prizes that you can win as a result of being physically strong. It's also important to look at the overlap between sport and the male body and how those things connect, because it also helps to showcase Athenian ideas and values. And so the gymnasium, which we'll talk about in a moment, gets its name from the Greek word for naked, gymnos. And it was called that because athletes would train and compete in the nude. This is partially a way of honoring the gods, but it also allows them to show off the perfection of the male form. And so although soldiers would not fight naked in war for a few obvious reasons, the athletes would train and also compete in the nude. There was some sort of strapping clip contraption known as the, excuse my New Zealand accent, kainodesme, which would be worn for some activities to sort of strap the genitals out of the way. But other than that, they would be nude. And so exercise is a way of training your body. And if you are disciplined with your exercise, the Greeks believed that you would therefore have that ideal, beautiful male body. And the Greeks really recognized and valued, and in Athens as well, the beauty of this ideal male body. And so because all these athletes are naked, it is a way for you to kind of showcase and admire the male form. And so there would also be a bit of an erotic element in the gymnasium and palaestra space, where in particular, say, older males would appreciate the beauty of younger men. And so in our artistic sources, such as the Discobolus here, athletes are shown as ideals of masculinity with these perfect bodies. So in the gymnasium, or the gymnasium is an outdoor space in Athens and Greek polis, which was used for both exercise and socializing. So it would be a very large outdoor space because you need room for all the activities, running, jumping, throwing, and so on. It would have shady trees to relax under. It would also have bathing facilities. We see many sort of vase paintings showing athletes scraping oil off themselves with strigils, which is how they got clean. And these would be developed over time to have a sort of colonnade. So there's sort of an indoor, outdoor space, but there's sort of large, open, public areas. In terms of who you'd see there, you would see sort of competitive athletes, ones who would go to the Olympic and other games to sort of compete and win prizes and glory for themselves, but they were open to anyone. So you'd have plenty of amateur athletes and everyday Athenian citizens, and they were also a really popular spot for philosophers because there were so many men there. So they were a good place for philosophers to go and have a discussion. So their main purpose is for exercise, for athletics, but they also have an important social side to them. In terms of famous gymnasia in Athens, there's three main ones. There's the Academy, which was sort of upgraded by the general Cimon in the 5th century BC, so that was able to have a colonnade and some buildings as well as the Lyceum and the Kynosarges. And all of these were located out the city walls of Athens, and they're built in areas which have religious significance. So going back to what we were saying about exercise and the nudity as a way of honouring the gods. Another important space for sport and exercise in ancient Greece and in ancient Athens was the palaestra. So in contrast to the public, large, open gymnasium, this would be a small space which was privately run, and it would charge parents to send their sons there. It would charge people to attend. And this was a specialist location for the combat sports, so boxing, wrestling, and also the pankration, which we see pictured here in this vase painting. And so this was a more exclusive location. It cost a fee to join, but it was also a very popular space to go, spend some time and exercise as well as socialize. So just to finish up, make sure that you've got your notes on these three key questions so that we can develop and build on our understanding in class. Number 1, why was sport and exercise important to the Athenians? Number 2, what was the gymnasium like and what activities took place there? And number 3, what was the palaestra and what activities took place there?